Hey guys, Malicious here. Today, I am back in /MaliciousCompliance. It's been about 3 months since I did my last episode on MaliciousCompliance. It's just sort of one that fell to the wayside a tiny bit. But I'm back for some more. You will search every third car. So, I worked security for a major military contractor at one point. Our supervisor liked using our random search number as a tool for punishment for perceived grievances with us. Normally, our search number was something around 15 to 25, meaning we would only pull the lever and search every 15th car and every contractor truck. It was very cold and very miserable in the mornings, when we would suddenly have a couple hundred employees and contractors show up between 5 AM and 8 AM. This day, our supervisor got upset because when he came in at 4 AM for his day shift, he was the 15th car, deciding that he must now ruin everyone else's day, even though we did our best to search his vehicle promptly, but completely, so he couldn't say we weren't doing the searches properly. So he set the day shift search number to 3. So we complied. There was only enough room for 3 cars and trucks to be pulled over at once, and once that was done, we would usually stop searches until the others were completed, keeping traffic moving. Not today. This time, we filled the search area, and then stopped traffic until all 3 vehicles were cleared, then allowed 2 cars through, pull over the 3rd, allowed 2, pull over the 3rd, allowed 2, pull over the 3rd, stop all traffic, and start searches. We ended up with a lot of cars waiting to get into the plant that went 2 miles long. It got so long, the local police got involved up the road as people were blocking traffic in some intersections. Then came the phone call from a 3-star general that said traffic a mile up the road. Suddenly, we were called to cease all searches for the morning. I later heard that it had been too little too late to cancel the ridiculous searches, and a major military contractor lost a $1 billion contract out of the deal. And that supervisor was initially going to be fired, but negotiated his way to just being busted down to a regular guard. We were union, so he started at the lowest on the seniority chart, and got stuck working all the mandatory overtime, all the worst posts, including the one he had made miserable that morning. Edit: I should have noted that 2 weeks later, said contractor was renegotiated after the company I worked for explained that the person responsible for the general's limousine being held up in traffic for almost an hour had been reassigned. No innocent jobs were lost in the making of this MC. That's what you get when you set the number to a number that is so low that it's ridiculous. Maybe double that might not have been as bad, but of course it had to be 3. Just be glad it wasn't 1. Every car needed to be searched. At that point, I just said, sir, we need to put in tech if you want that. We would have to put in a whole car scanner if you want that, sir. You want me to move seats? Okay. I, a 21-year-old female, was born with a malformation of my inner ear. On top of making my right ear stick out like an elephant's, it also caused me to have balancing issues. To prevent me from toppling over, I used a cane for support and balance. Yesterday, I was taking a train back to my university city. I always get the closest seats to the door, since if the train starts and I'm standing, the chances of me losing my balance and falling over are high, unfortunately speaking from experience. These seats are usually have an indication of priority for people with moving impairments, and this train was no different. I got on and sat down with my headphones in. Not a minute goes by when I am startled by a tap on my shoulder. I pull my headphones out and look up to see an older looking man. The first thing he says was, "You need to move," whilst pointing to the priority seating sign. I was flustered and was only able to stutter, but I do. And before he went away mumbling about not having time for this. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. A minute later, the man came back with a train attendant. He just pointed at me, going, "Tell her to give me the seat. I have priority," and some other ramblings I don't remember. The attendant wasn't mean or anything. She just said, "Ma'am, this is priority seating. Would you please give your seat to this gentleman?" I wasn't even trying to do a cue malicious compliance moment. I am just terrified of confrontation and would rather risk wobbling away to another seat, even though this train was already moving. I have one of those metallic folding canes, so I unfold it and leaned on it to get up. Before I can leave, the attendant just starts waving me to sit back down. "Oh, no, it's okay, ma'am. Just stay in your seat." The old man didn't say anything. He just looked annoyed, like he didn't understand why he couldn't have my seat. The attendant led the way to find you another seat, while the guy grumbled something. I just sat there and enjoyed my face-plant-free train ride while drawing and listening to music. Never saw the old guy again, but the attendant smiled at me whenever she passed by. Thanks for reading. Oh, nice. I'm glad you had a cane with you. And a collapsible cane. That's actually really cool. A collapsible cane is so cool. Or like a folding cane. But it's just like... It's like look at my metal cane that's also just a nice old... Just folds up nicely. It's just so... It's so tasteful, and it's just like... Yes, people with disabilities can be really young. It's not just for the old people. Thieving bully demands I take him home in order to give him my fundraising earnings. I comply, and it works out beautifully for me. I was in middle school in the 90s. I loved growing up then, and even though there were gangs in my area, I generally avoid trouble. One of my classes had this big field trip planned, and they had us selling chocolates to raise money for our trip. I was pretty good at it and was selling at a good rate. I would take the bus, public transportation to school, and my stop was about 2 blocks from my home. I got off at my stop one day with my box of chocolates, and there was this older kid around 16 or 17, pretty big for his age, hanging out there. He saw me and came towards me. This guy is clearly a gangbanger. Piazza came up to me and says, "Hey homie, where are you from?" He was asking what gang I was from. It's not the first time I get challenged like this, so I just reply, "I don't bang, man. I'm just a junior high kid." Piazza looks at my box of chocolates and takes it from me. And what's this? I tell him it's nothing, it's something for school. He opens the box and sees a bunch of dollars in there. He grabs the bills, around $15, my sales for the day, and takes a bunch of chocolates as well. "Tomorrow, you're going to give me $20 more. If you don't, we are going to have a real effing problem." I walk away feeling scared and peeved off. I realize I'm going to have to pay back the lost money from my birthday money, and I definitely didn't want to give this guy any more money. I think about it and decide I'll get off at a later bus stop from now on and walk a little more just to avoid this guy. The next day, this is what I do. I stuff my box in my backpack just in case, and I exit about 2 stops later. I don't see the guy and think I have solved my problem. Then I get to the liquor store a block away from home, and who do I see but this overgrown idiot Piazza? "Hey man, you didn't forget about me, did you?" I said, "Look man, I don't have any money right now. I don't even have my chocolates. I left them at home." "I shouldn't have said that." "Okay, let's go to your house, and you're going to give me the money, or something else if you don't got it." I begin getting real nervous. My mum's at work and my grandma is home. I definitely don't want to bring him home with her there. I glance at him and notice the tattoos on his arms. At this point I saw the perfect opportunity for malicious compliance. I tell him, I don't think that's a good idea. Why don't you just let me go, man? Piazza grabs me by the collar and says, I tell you what to do, and you fucking do it. You understand? I nod my head and tell him to follow me. Now it's time to give a little background. My neighbour that lived in the house next to mine was a veteran of one of the biggest, most notorious gangs in the city. He was in his 40s and a real chill dude. He loved my grandma because she would often share plates of food she made with him and his wife. And he was fond of me because I taught his 8-year-old boy how to play baseball. His son had a disability, a problem with one of his legs, so most other kids wouldn't play with him, but I often did. Let's call my neighbor OG. OG always had a bunch of guys over at his house. He made sure they never caused problems and they were all respectful towards my family in particular. Back to Piazza. The tattoos on his arms? I realized he was from the same gang as OG. I have a big smile as I'm walking home and Piazza asks me, Why you smiling, Pando? Idiot. I say, no reason, and keep walking home. As we get closer, I see a bunch of guys hanging out at OG's house. Piazza narrows his eyes, then smiles as he recognizes some of the guys. We get to OG's house, and Piazza says, wait here, Pando. Let me talk to my homies. OG is sitting on his porch, and Piazza starts greeting some of the guys, and then heads towards OG and greets him in a reverential manner. OG notices me and says my name. Hey, OP, what's up? Piazza turns to look at me, and I say, Piazza told me to wait here. I have to go home and give him money. OG stands up and says, why do you have to give him money? I say, because he told me yesterday at my bus stop that the $15 and the chocolates he took from me wasn't enough and I had to give him more today. Piazza begins to speak. You know this kid, OG? OG gives him the scariest look I've ever seen and tells him to shut the fuck up. OG looks back at me and asks, is this the chocolates you are selling? I said yes. OG asks me how many chocolates I have left to sell. I say about 50. He tells me not to worry. Piazza is going to pay me for the 50 I have left, plus 20 for the day before, and an extra 50 for my trouble. He tells me to keep whatever else I sell. He tells me to go home, and Piazza will be back later with my money. About an hour later, there is a knock on my door, and Piazza has an envelope and says, here's $100, little homie. I forked up. I'm sorry. Do you have Nintendo? I brought you some games. I just at this time thinking how I never would have guessed getting robbed had so many benefits. I didn't see Piazza too many times after that, but whenever I did, he would wave at me and never bother me again. Oh. Good thing you know your tattoos and your gangs. I guess this... Where did this story even happen? Like... I would say Mexico, but it doesn't feel like Mexico. It feels like more like somewhere in America that has a very big like Spanish culture almost, or like Mexican culture or whatever. I just love how OG was just like, yeah, I got your back, mate. Anyway, on that note of benefits, I'm going to end this episode here. Links will be in the description to the main channel and the second channel for you guys to go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so no next video comes out. Ding, ding. And the Mad Scientist out.